I have no pity for you whatsoever. So, but either way, I don't think anyone does, right? I mean, hey, you know what? It's like, yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. They're around their friends, they're around them. So they get to dump all that energy into all that now. Yeah, they don't have to worry about, bugging you.
Let's bring on Josh Taylor now. Josh Taylor, Director of Communications for Nisa. And, first off, welcome to Inside the Game, Josh.
Thanks for having me on, and glad to be on the show. Jonathan, just to clarify, I'm the broadcast production supervisor for the league.
I apologize. Broadcast production supervisor for the league. Obviously, my bad on that error. But Josh, first off, man, welcome in, and let's talk about this Nisa Pro Cup. Obviously, big things happening at Nisa. Let's talk about this tournament coming here to Michigan here in October.
Absolutely, yes. As you alluded to early in the show last week, the league and, of course, you guys, Premier Media Group, we announced that we have a broadcast production partnership for the 2025 Nisa Pro Cup. And as you mentioned, that will be in Michigan. So we're very excited about that and glad to have you guys on to do production for our matches coming up. So we're very excited about that.
I know that there's still teams being announced. I don't know how many. I don't know the count right now currently, but these games are slated to start in October the 15th.
Yes, so we announced last week that the tournament will be starting on October 15th. We announced 8 teams so far for this tournament, and we have teams coming from across the country: Arkansas Wolves, Capo FC, DC Hyper, Los Angeles Force, Northern Colorado Hailstorm, Modesto City FC, Sin City FC, and Temecula FC.
And I know that there are still some teams, obviously, still to be announced. How many teams do you guys are you at liberty to say how many teams you're expected to participate in this tournament, or are we still not unsure?
We're still unsure yet, as of right now, but as of how many teams that will be the finalized team, we are working on that as we speak, and we plan to make more tournament updates, hopefully in the next few weeks. But stay tuned; we'll keep you posted.
So my last question before I pass it off to Nate. Obviously, we've covered Nisa the last number of years. We did so for the Detroit Gold Star Detroit. We did so for the Michigan Stars. Obviously, a lot of things happening in the last 18 months that have impacted. Because right now, Nisa would be playing. Right, and typically this would be their wrapping up their end of the season, getting towards playoffs. Usually here into that October time period. There've been a lot of changes at Nisa. Obviously, one of which them not playing during a professional season. So, is this going to be the new norm, having a tournament, or is there a likelihood that we're going to see Nisa back in it here starting in March of next year?
So the purpose with the Nisa Pro Cup, it is part of our application with U.S. Soccer, and our plan for the league is to use this tournament as a launching pad to kind of help us kind of restart Nisa going into 2026. And I'm sure you guys are aware we've recently have new leadership involved, a new commissioner, Chandler Hoffman, Matt Morris being our CEO, Ron Gilmore returning to the league as an operations consultant, and he'll be helping us managing the tournament up here in Michigan as well. And we've built a lot of positive momentum for this league over the last few months. As far as sanctioning goes, we have submitted an application to U.S. Soccer, and we're very excited about the number of teams for the application. But for this tournament, the goal is to make it as successful as possible. We're going to treat it as a professional tournament with the marketing and everything that we're planning to put involved in this tournament, and use that as we look to restart the league by 2026.
JT was talking about it momentarily there, and I think you kind of backed it up in what you said, but you said the reception has been exceptionally well from teams interested in coming and participating in this. We're always talking about brand recognition on this podcast. I think that's something that is really important, especially when you mention wanting to grow your club, wanting to get to the next level, wanting to invite new people in, and just getting people interested in general. Have you had any conversations with coaches specifically or heads of these places, these clubs specifically, and what are they most excited about when it comes to being a part of a competition in a tournament like this? Because that's a long time. That's a good chunk of the fall. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of good opportunities for recognition, brand recognition. Obviously, with us being the partner in broadcasting these games, it's going to get them out there a lot. What are they most excited about when, in terms of getting the opportunity to be a part of a tournament like this with Nisa?
Well, I think for a lot of the clubs that we've announced so far for this tournament, they're excited to be a part of it. And as we've made clear, the teams that we are having in this tournament are going to be going pro when we relaunch in 2026. So they're very excited about that. Going through this process, we have made sure with these clubs that they meet the expectations with not just our league, but U.S. Soccer. So we've been doing a good job holding our clubs accountable to that. And as you mentioned, it's an opportunity. They're going to be on a national platform where people can see their games, show their teams out and what they can do in this tournament like this. And we have teams that are looking at, bringing on additional investors and sponsorships and those type of things as well. So if anything, like you said, growing in the brand, not just for the league, but for the clubs, giving them exposure, not just the clubs, but also the players. I think that's going to be the biggest benefit for this tournament is the players. It gets to show them an opportunity on the field and show what they can do. And we're certainly hoping from the league perspective that some of these players that will be in this tournament will be on the teams next year. But some, as you know, might end up getting opportunities to go elsewhere, whether that's MLS Next Pro, USL, or possibly abroad.
What are some of those expectations? Because you mentioned meeting expectations to be a part of it. Just very quickly, what are some of those expectations you guys are looking for if they want to be a part of something like this cup?
So some of the expectations we've talked about with the clubs is, bringing that professional mindset. As I listed the clubs earlier, some of these clubs that are going to be involved in this tournament were amateur, and now we're working with them transitioning from amateur to pro status. And we've made it very clear, look, you got to beef up not just your roster, but obviously your with front office and bringing the right people involved, coaching staff as well. And even though this is going to be a 2-week tournament, we will have some off days, but we're not going to be just chilling on the sidelines. We'll be doing some stuff on off days, whether that's some seminars or workshops, having some presentations. We'll keep the players and coaches busy. And we'll also hopefully have some media events. I'm not sure yet, but once we get some details on that, we'll let you guys know. But those are just some of the expectations we've mentioned to some of our clubs coming into this tournament to have that professional mindset and being accountable and making sure your players are taken care of throughout the next couple of weeks in Michigan. But we're very excited. We're very excited for this tournament and can't wait to October 15th gets here where we get this party started. But like I said, you guys will be along for the ride, so it should be fun. We're looking forward to it.
Obviously, there are a different set of expectations that come with being a part of a pro club, so that makes sense in what you guys are and in what your expectations are. And JT and I have had many conversations about what's the difference between a professional side and an amateur side, and it comes down to those expectations, as you talked about. So I'll be excited to see what the future looks like. I got one more quick question to work in here. Before we toss it back to Jonathan Turner, I see your background there. Are you excited for Week 1 against Ohio State?
Yeah, very excited with my Longhorns. It's going to be a rematch of the.
Do us a favor, all right?
We're going to beat down.
Do us a favor. Do us a favor. I'm just saying.
All right.
Should be a great ball game.
You guys had that win streak against Ohio State. Hope you guys can keep that going. But hey, you beat the national champ, so there you go. We didn't do that. So
second time around
on Saturday.
All right, hook them.
That's right, hook 'em horns.
Well, so I want to go back to this, and I think it's important because Nathan just alluded to this, right? We see a lot of these leagues around this country saying, path to pro, right, or pre-professional, new words to describe amateurism, right? That that's that, and again, because we know what leagues are all about, we know what teams are about. They want to sell ads, and so if you're going to go into a partnership with a local restaurant or a regional business, the thing that sounds great is, hey, we're pre-professional. We're doing everything that you would do in the professional rank except this, which I would imagine in most cases is just not paying the players, or quote unquote having player contracts, because that's really what I think is expectations alone. I think what really defines professionalism is that you have contracts where you're stating that you're paying player X, right, for their services, right? And so, in the pre-professional world, the amateur world, there might be money being exchanged, but it's not contractual. It's here's some cash to come play on our team, right? That's kind of how things are happening in that space. My question for you is this, Josh, is that what is the standard in today's country, in our new world of soccer, where we are actually defining what professional is? Because I feel like we don't know. I feel like we're stuck in this thing where we're like, well, the USL2, UPSL, Midwest Premier League, all these leagues have come out that are amateur based, pre-professional. I think people don't know what the difference between them, Nisa, USL Championship, USL League One. I mean, there is some confusion amongst, I think, the general public about what's the difference between these leagues, and more importantly, what sets them apart.
Yeah, John, those are excellent points you brought up there, and I can only relate to my personal experience. So when I was in Florida and I was going to school at college at Full Sail University, I did do a internship. I was a digital content intern for Inter Orlando Academy. We were in the UPSL at the time, and obviously you're based in Michigan. I'm sure you work with plenty of UPSL teams, and you hear all kinds of stories about the UPSL and how some teams are there and they take it seriously, and some teams are just going through motions sometimes. And I know when I was with Inter Orlando Academy, the biggest issue we had was we had a roster of players like at the start of the season, but as we got close to the end of the season, players started leaving for various reasons, and we had to like forfeit our last couple of games because we just didn't have enough players. But when we're looking at the amateur game, it's not just UPSL. Other leagues have had issues like that, and I know for Nisa, we had Nisa Nation that's had some challenges as well. And I think the major differentiator with Nisa Nation and Nisa in general is what we try to do is we try to differentiate ourselves by, especially with the new leadership coming in, is being player centric focus. Our new commissioner Joe Hoffman has been very focused on that. Player welfare, make sure the players are taken care of, and we want to focus on giving players opportunities, not just while they're playing, but also after they're playing. Because not just with Nisa Nation, or I'm sorry, Nisa Pro, but we're trying to do similar things with Nisa Nation as well. And because players when they leave soccer, they look at coaching or maybe doing broadcasting, things of that nature, and solidarity payments. That's stuff we've talked about as well across the league. So those are some things that I talk about on our end. I can't speak for the other leagues as far as USL League 2 or UPSL or NPSL, but I think with the amateur game, it's like the Wild Wild West. Everything's different, with different leagues, but I think they all try to strive for the same thing, and that is, trying to find ways to get their players to move up to the professional leagues. And I know for Nisa and Nisa Nation in general, we are trying to do the same thing.
So I appreciate the response and the answer, because we saw this thing today. I saw a meme. Obviously Taylor Swift got engaged, and that's a big deal, right, in the United States. It wouldn't have been a big deal 10 years ago, but somehow it's a big deal today, which I get, I guess, to some level.
I think it would have been a big deal 10 years ago.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's bigger today than it's ever been, or ever will be. But anyways, with that being said, it's part of their meme, USL, which announced here a few months ago about their having a Division One, program, a Division One league. and that there's going to be pro rel between Division One championship and League One. And now that you guys Nisa's in this unique scenario where they get to do like a reset button, right? Not a lot of leagues get to do a reset, right? You do. You have a chance here to reset Nisa. Is there conversations within the hierarchy of Nisa about what pro relegation could look like if you wanted to try to put that together in some way as you're resetting the league? And is that a conversation that the league has had at some point or at any level?
We've had conversations about it in the past. I know our previous leadership from back in 2021 when I was working with Chicago House, my banner right here, we were a Nisa at one point. They're now playing the Midwest Premier League. But when I was working with Peter Wiltz, Peter Will had told us plenty of times that he had multiple conversations with the producers at the time when they were running Nisa about pro rel. With the new leadership coming in, it is something that we have discussed. We don't know, like, as far as how we plan to implement it just yet, but it is something we have discussed. And once we kind of, I think the goal for us right now is just to get the tournament going and making that successful as it can be. We get relaunched for Nisa for 2026, have a solid, good season next year, and then depending on how many teams we get and build out not just Nisa Pro, the third division, but also Nisa Nation, our amateur circuit. And certainly if we get enough teams of interest, pro rel would certainly be a possibility. And as you mentioned, down the road, but we gotta take care of what's in front of us. That's a challenge ahead. And as you mentioned with USL, yes, USL, they have announced they're going to have a Division One league, I think by 2028, I believe. And I know they've also talked about flipping the calendar as well. And look, USL, those guys have done a really great job. I know after that split with NESL, that happened back in, I think it was 2010. And from where they were at that time to where they are now, it's just amazing. And I listened to an interview the other day on the Soccer Business with Simon Evans, and Justin Papadakis was on that show, and he was talking about we got like 70 different stadium projects, and it's all focused on real estate with a lot of those. So the teams that to bring on board and growing, it's great for USL. And look, for Nisa, we're striving to get there at some point, but we got to take it one step at a time, John. So, but yes, we've had, to answer your question, we've talked about pro rel in the past and the present, but in the future, we'll have to see how that plays out. But for now, we just got to focus on the tournament and then next year and see how it goes.
No, absolutely. I just would not, if I didn't ask that question, right? I mean, it's just such a topic that is bounced around this country. And to be fair, I'm not a big fan of pro rel on any level, just because of the money aspect and the size of our country. But I feel it's a conversation we should actually be having with leagues around the country when they start talking about this, because it's a hot topic amongst those who are fans of the game. But Josh, we appreciate you stopping by here and being a part of the show. We're excited about our coverage and the coverage of the Nisa Pro Cup coming here in October. All those games can be seen on the National Soccer Network as well as Nisa Plus on our Roku channel, and we're excited about that. Again, October 15th when that tournament kicks off. More information about who's playing in it and how that tournament will shape up will be released here in the coming weeks leading up into that tournament. But Josh, again, thank you again for being a part of Inside the Game here this morning.
My pleasure, John. Nathan, thanks for having me.
Yes,
You're
sir.
very welcome.
Thank you.